Welcome viewers, welcome to Media Track episode 38. With me is my media colleague Ashley Rosario, and this is a program that takes you through the highlights of the news of the past week. So, as usual, we have, the main story is, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic that's been sweeping through the world. But on a Thursday, the 7th of May, we've had a tragic incident in India, and that is a gas blast that has taken place in Andhra Pradesh. So, Ashley, this thing happened in Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, and it was a plant, a polymer plant run by the LG company, and 11 people have died in this accident. So it sort of takes you back to that horrible Bhopal gas tragedy. And as usual, it is the people. One of the tragedies about this is that the plant was it's on the outskirts of Visakhapatnam. Workers were preparing to reopen the plant today. It had been shut down all these, I think about 40 days or something. And gas started leaking in the early hours. Hundreds of unconscious people and those with breathing difficulties were brought to the King George Hospital in the city. Children and elderly were most affected. Well, the story is still playing out, but one hopes that they manage to get things under control in a while. Yeah. So what is the latest you're hearing on this, Ashley?
As of 4:35 in the evening, there were 11 counted dead, out of which 3 were kids, and 300 people hospitalized at King George and a couple of other hospitals around there. The gas itself, there's no much about what the gas was, but the factory was producing polymer, I believe, plastic cutlery, disposable cutlery.
Oh, I see.
That's what. So they use polymers to manufacture them.
So that story is still playing out, and we shift back to the COVID-19 pandemic, and India is making this huge effort to bring back over 14,000 stranded Indians between May 7 and 13, and there will be 64 flights to bring back the Indians, and now 7,500 Goans from across India and abroad have registered to return. That is what the Chief Minister has announced, and there's a report in the Times of India which mentions that 60% of Goans abroad who registered with the NRI panel, they are in the Gulf. This is another of the bigger stories now. How do you think this will be handled by the government? Will it be seen as a big achievement? Because there are a lot of other things in which the government hasn't been doing so well in controlling the pandemic, because the numbers have just been growing in every state.
It says 14,000 Indians are going to be brought back.
Yes,
out of that, how much are going to be Goans, we don't know.
Yes.
And that 14,000 number is something that is being handled by the center.
In fact, from what I heard, there wasn't even a single Goan sort of registered among the 14,000 to return on these flights.
So basically, I think there is the coordination between the state government and the central government is not happening at that level. It could be seen in the way the government is handling the seafarers issue, for example.
That's right.
Like the Goa government has absolutely no say in the decisions being taken by the MHA or the center. So we are totally at the mercy of what the center is going to do in these things. Now if the government of India can bring 14,000 people by special flights, I can't understand why the same methodology cannot be used for seafarers or for any other Indians, whether Goans or Indians that are abroad.
That's true.
I think that they are doing it in a phase wise, because they are doing it as per the capacity they have in India to quarantine these people once they are brought.
That's true.
Now, if we don't have the kind of quarantine capacity that is needed to bring all, say, I don't know, I think around 40-50,000 people
Yeah.
who are stuck abroad and who want to come back.
Yeah.
If we don't have the quarantine capacity in India to keep these people, then might as well don't bring them in.
That's true.
So I think that is what the government is.
The other thing that has been of concern is that the minute Goa has been declared a green zone, you have these images. In fact, I saw this very interesting photograph in the Times of India, Goa Today, where this Osran beach in North Goa is full of foreigners, and the headline of that photograph said, "Crass display of insolence." There's no social distancing or physical distancing, whatever you like to call that, or anything. And then you had the social distancing norms tossed aside as crowds throng the liquor shops in the rest of India. In fact, actually, there was this report about the store in Bangalore which opened up and it made 4 crore business in just one day. It's the biggest liquor store in the country, but 4 crore is like,
it's
no joke.
It's probably they have a range of brands, including the high-end ones, like Grey Goose and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's a metro, so Bangalore is a metro, so you have all kinds of people with money, people without money. So
yes, I know. But you know what? This just sort of proves the point that the minute you clamp down on general public activity, there's even more sort of an outburst of desire for those things. And obviously liquor is one of them. So that was now the story in Goa that is still very fresh and it's ongoing is about the migrants leaving the state. So your paper, the Goan, had this story, and it said that migrants, 2 sides of the exit story, in which some of them were taken, 60-70 of them were taken to the border in Karnataka near Karwar, and they were denied entry. Now, why did this happen? Why were they denied entry?
Apparently these people had Aadhaar cards and identity documents that were issued by the Goa government.
Okay.
So the Karnataka government was saying, you all are not Karnataks.
Okay.
If you bring Karnataka documents, then you are accepted as a Karnataka. But this is another case of no communication between the governments.
Yes, that's true.
Absolutely no communication between the Goa government and the Karnataka government.
But on the other hand, actually, there is this big worry in Goa that the labor exodus will, create this huge sort of stall the industry and everything else, production from restarting in Goa. So, in fact, there was a message put out on Facebook by Manoj Kakula, who is the, I think he heads
the chamber.
Yeah, Chamber of Commerce, and he said, we have done so much for these people and they want to leave. I mean, these people have just been wanting to go back to their families, and is it not their right to go back to their family?
That's the point.
So how much labor
around
is there?
80,000, they say 80,000 have registered to go back.
Okay.
So there are obviously more than 80,000. There's something, I remember the Chief Minister saying at one of his press conferences that it is around 2 lakh. Migrant workforce in Goa, that is outstation workforce in Goa, is around 2 lakhs. That is what the CM had said on record. But this whole argument that industry will be maimed, we won't be able to start the way we want to if these guys just go back, cannot be an argument to stop them.
Yes.
Okay, you could try to speak to them and convince them, give them better facilities.
Right.
But in the last 40 days or a little bit more than 40 days of the lockdown, I did not see any industry captain doing anything for these labor people.
That's true. In fact, these people were literally begging for food, and they were stranded.
Exactly.
And then when the matter came up in the media, that's when individual MLAs started stepping up, and then you had people trying to outdo each other. Some NGOs got into the act. So basically, it's become a kind of relief measure. But these people have a right to go back to their homes. How can you keep them from going home? And there is also the anxiety. They want to see how their families are doing. It's an issue that's sort of reverberating throughout India. And yesterday I saw quite a few of these reports on TV, and there were these sort of really heartrending stories of some 12-year-old who tried to cycle all the way back home. To Bihar from I don't know, Telangana or something, and he didn't even get to Bihar. He died
on the way.
Yes, exactly. So those are the images that still continue to sort of play out. Then actually, when I just go now to the record jump in cases in India. So there was this report in the Indian Express, and it talked about in 4 days we've had a jump of 10,000 cases, whereas to reach that 10,000 figure it had taken more than a month. So the question is India headed the way of the other countries, Europe, etc., where numbers have gone into the hundreds of thousands, and are we going to see this thing playing out?
I think we will eventually. Because our populations are 4 or 5 times those of any of these countries individually. So even if we are 50% below them, in terms of sheer numbers, we would be higher number of cases than any of these countries in a span of time, but we don't know how long will that take. But if you remember, Devika, we discussed this in previous episodes. The very rate of testing being very low in India.
That's true.
That's picking up. That's picking up. Even in Goa, the rate of testing per day has picked up tremendously.
How much are we testing per day in Goa?
Yesterday the Chief Minister was on record that we had done 300 tests in a day.
Okay.
Before that we were in the region of 12 to 20 a day. So there's a huge jump. So basically this new virology lab that has been set up at GMC, initially it had a lot of teething problems. The people working there were new to this thing. So now they have got into the groove, and the number of tests they do a day has increased exponentially. So we are testing higher across India, higher than what we were doing 1 month back. So therefore the numbers are increasing faster. Obviously. So
so the one of the questions asked to one of the experts was, why is it we have these high figures in places like Maharashtra and specifically Bombay and then Delhi, etc. And obviously, his explanation was that the virus came from abroad via the airports, etc. So these are the places which have airports, and so the higher concentration is in these areas. He says and India, the urban areas haven't yet got it. So he says just give it a year, 6 months to a year, and you might see this, really spread in the urban areas, in villages in India. And that is where the absolute challenge lies for the country. Will we be able to cope? Do we have the medical services in these areas to cope with this kind of
I think that is the reason why the government is reluctant to allow the migrant labor force to go back to their villages.
Exactly.
Because if the virus does spread to the rural areas, God save India, because our health infrastructure in the rural areas is so poor, it's non-existent virtually.
That's true.
Like take Goa for example. Goa is catered to in its rural villages by these primary health centers. A doctor comes there once a week. So how are these rural health centers going to handle COVID?
But then Goa is small.
But Goa is at least small.
Yeah, small. And
imagine
you can immediately drive
to Panjim or to Margao or the two district hospitals. But imagine those villages in the rest of India. Their health infrastructure their health infrastructure is virtually non-existent in villages. Non-existent in villages. So that is perhaps the reason why the governments, whether state governments or the central government, is trying to discourage this going back of people back to villages at the moment. I think that is the reason why they are doing it.
So the other thing that has been sort of trending is the Arogya Setu app. You know, it's the app set up by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and it is meant to, you know, track people who test positive, and then it's the contact tracing, etc., etc. Now there's been a lot of questions. The minister, IT minister Prasad, has said that there is no breach of privacy in this Arogya Setu, but the opposition has been raising these. They're saying it is you had Shashi Tharoor of the Congress and Rahul Gandhi of the Congress party, both are saying that this is an excuse for surveillance state to be set up. And the centre last week issued fresh guidelines for the third coronavirus lockdown and said people attending their office will have to download the application. Now in a place, if you notice, actually if you read it in I think it was in Noida, they have actually made it compulsory, and they said you would be fined 5,000 rupees if you are not you know, downloaded the app. Now there are these you know, fears that with the state, of course there was also this hacker who said that, I don't remember his name,
I think.
Anderson, right? Who said that he had easily hacked into the app and downloaded all the...
No, basically what he did was, he directly messaged Arogya Setu people,
right,
and told them what the problem is, what the security breach is. And after that, Mr. Prasad made that statement, but he has not explained anything. He has only made a statement that there is no breach.
Now the fears are that, you know, that apps like this that allow you to collect people's biometrics, where, you know, they measure your temperature, etc., etc., could actually allow the government to get under your skin. And this could, I saw this very interesting discussion yesterday on BBC with, you know, the historian Yuval Noah Harari, he's Israeli, and he has these fears about, you know, democracies being taken over, giving up their thing to dictators who are getting more and more control. And that is one of the fears about this whole pandemic, that even democracies might sort of give up a few of their you know, very democratic rights to these leaders who want more and more power on their own. So those are the main stories we've been looking at. Now one of the biggest problems, of course, is India's unemployment rate has soared to 27%, from 7% to 27%. That's a 20% increase.
Jump.
So where do we stand?
It's very scary, because I hear a lot of job cuts happening even in Goa. Job cuts and salary cuts and stuff like that. We don't know how it is going to play out. We really don't know how it's going to play out when the lockdown is lifted completely and we start getting back to normal. Lots of businesses have bled in these last 3 fortnights. How they are going to limp back to normalcy is something that nobody can foresee at this moment. Goa is fortunately not a very industrialized state in that sense. A lot of service sector economy in Goa.
And that is the main thing. I mean, if you look at it, it's only tourism that one can talk about right now, and tourism is the one thing that is the most affected.
And another very important sector that is crucial to Goa is the pharma sector, and that is the
Right.
only sector that will be doing well.
Absolutely, that is
So
a fact.
the
right.
pharma sector, we have quite a bit of a pharma sector in Goa.
Yeah.
So for thankfully that will not be affected that much.
Okay.
But the other sectors, I don't know how they are going to restart.
Okay, but there was this other story that you know, that was a headline today. It was a headline in your paper. The Ministry of Environment has amended the CRZ 2011 to suit Goa, and it allows high tide line in Goa to be demarcated along bunds and in rivers and creeks. Is there anything significant in this, or is it just a little sort of
no,
thing
there is a
yeah.
small significance to this, because that coastal management zones that Goa was supposed to, you know, finalize,
Yeah.
was stuck because of this decision.
Yeah.
See, Goa has a lot of backwaters,
Right.
which are connected to the sea.
Yeah.
Unlike other parts, other states of the country,
Yeah.
their backwaters are not connected to the sea.
Yes.
Our backwaters, these Kazan areas,
Yeah.
which have these you know, small rivulets,
Yeah.
all connect to the sea, and there's a lot of salinity coming in and going back.
Okay.
So what these people have done now, yesterday, is a demand that the Goa government had done about a year back, that the sluice gates, the first sluice gate towards the sea,
Okay.
should be the high tide line.
Okay.
Okay, because there is tidal effect there as well.
Yeah.
That was the argument.
Yeah.
So that is what they have accepted now. So basically, it will help. The people who have their homes, these homes have been there for a long time.
Okay. Okay.
In these Kazan areas, which have, you know, little bit of PC culture
Yeah.
and that kind of activity going on.
Yeah.
So those homes will be safe.
Okay.
Okay, with the high tide line coming to the sluice gate or the bunds.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's the argument.
Yeah. So there was the this very interesting photograph that was carried in quite a few papers. I'm looking at the front page of the Times of India, where the photograph of a Black Panther, which was captured on camera at Netravali Wildlife Sanctuary, and the photograph was tweeted by none other than the Chief Minister, who said that a great glimpse of Goa's rich wildlife. Well, I wish politicians were a little more proactive in protecting the rich wildlife. It's a terrific photograph, no doubt. It was captured, I think, on the cameras.
But I've seen
yes.
photographs of Black Panthers in the Netravali and Kotigaon sanctuaries.
Okay.
In the past.
Okay.
There are Black Panthers in those areas.
Okay. Okay.
If I remember, I think it was in the early 2000s, that Range Forest Officer Paresh Parab, he's one of the most sincere forest officers I have known in Goa. Yeah. He's now in the Made Sanctuary. Yeah. He had photographed Black Panthers way back in the early 2000s. Yeah. In that Kotigaon area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we come back again. We had sort of focused on this story last week, but it is still going on, and it talks about the governor now taking up the Basilica repair issue, and the chief secretary offering to mediate between the church and the ASI. Yeah. And the governor, your paper says the governor slams the Archaeological Survey of India for being casual and lackadaisical. So do you think that with the governor stepping in, things could get moving and the repairs will start going faster?
More these top guns get involved, better. Okay, but as I said last time also, this problem between the church authorities and the Archaeological Survey of India has been going on for decades.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. It's good that the chief secretary has now offered to mediate between the two. Yeah. But then, what if this chief secretary goes tomorrow? Yeah. The new chief secretary may not follow the same protocol. So they have to put in place a permanent protocol. Yeah. You know, where...
Or probably a permanent committee.
Exactly.
There is some committee appointed, I believe.
Now they have appointed, but
it's a temporary one.
It's a temporary thing because this problem has cropped up.
Okay.
Okay. There is no statutory committee that you know, is in place
Okay.
that supervises the thing.
Okay.
Is ASI on its own, the church on its own?
Okay.
So there's a complete confusion there.
Okay.
They better put a protocol in place because these heritage sites are invaluable.
Okay, okay. Right, it is absolutely invaluable. And we've run out of time. And to just end the thing, we will show you a photograph of newborn babies who are being shielded in a hospital, I think in Hanoi. And they've put shields for them to protect them against the coronavirus. I mean, that is how serious the issue really is around the world. And on that note, we end the program for this week. Thank you for watching, and thank you to my colleague Ashley.